Would you agree though that some things work for one person but aren't duplicatable past that level?
Yes, with a but. Most things that are successful for one person can be duplicatable if you are willing to work as hard as that person is willing to work.
So it's been quite a few weeks since we had an opportunity to get on camera, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know, maybe three. It seems like the spring has sprung hard, flown quickly. And Nick, I don't remember the last time we got a chance to record. But I'm excited to be here on a Thursday with you to share some thoughts. How's things been since the last time we got on camera?
Oh man, so good. It's been crazy busy. Life is insane. I'm just like overwhelmed. There's so much stuff going on. I don't even know where to start with the number of things that are going on in my life, which is part of the reason why it's been so hard to get on camera. But also, like, I think you've been on vacation, and like there's been
Yeah.
stuff going on for you too. It's not like your life
Yeah.
is uh not a busy time. Um, so how are things? What's new?
Things
The
are
last time we
good.
talked was with Adam, but I feel like that
Mhm.
doesn't count.
Yeah, it's kind of like our monthly crossover, and it seems like it's already been another month, and it's hard to keep up with all the stuff that we try to do, but we do it so that it like helps somebody, or maybe
Yeah.
the 3.5 people and your dog that listen in learn something, or at least our experience on it. Because Nick, I had a situation happen this morning, and it proves one thing to me. What do you think it is?
Well, so okay, so I'm cheating because I know I know what we're planning on talking about.
Well,
We live
not the
we
bubble, not the
no,
bubble
not the
just
bubble.
yet.
Okay, what does it
But
prove to you? That people
that
should
they
buy leads?
didn't watch any of the videos about releases that we've done over the
Oh,
course of nearly a half decade together.
yeah.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Can you be released to nobody?
No, you can't be released to nobody. Who wants to be released to nobody? Why would you want to be released to
I,
nobody?
t- I t-
What's the point?
See, but here's the thing. When somebody says that to me, because I've heard it before, because I've been around the block a few times at this point, you know what I know they're doing? I know they're just bullshitting me.
Yes.
You're like, come on with it. First off, if anyone's actually listening, you cannot be released to nobody. Releases are called transfers, and it requires
Yeah.
two parties to be involved in that conversation. Can't
Yes,
be
it does.
released to nobody.
Yeah.
You could
You could
terminate your contract,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I
That's what I
think
was gonna say. You could just terminate your contract.
that
Um,
works too.
I suppose, can you be released to a direct to carrier contract, assuming that the carrier wants to take you direct?
Even then, we're talking about three people and a cat that actually take people direct at this point, and they would
Right.
just want to. They wouldn't want to step on the relationship there was. I just it pains me to think all the time and energy we put into content that no one heard us ever say. I'm trying to find the email. You can't be released to nobody.
Yeah. No, you really can't. I mean, like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if you think about it for even like 5 minutes, right? Right. Like, like I mean, if you want to be released to nobody, you can terminate your contract,
There we go.
right?
That's the correct
Yeah,
answer.
right. Which is like not a difficult thing to do. If you
No.
want to keep having that contract, but you don't want to be with your particular organization, you can find another organization. Or if the carrier will take you direct, I guess you can go direct to the carrier. But like you said, a lot of carriers won't take people direct without massive proof of stability.
Yeah.
Um, and some won't take you direct no matter what, right? But there's plenty of like if you want to, man, if you want to go direct, like you, but you can't go direct. Like you could call, I don't know, AmeriLife. You could call IFG. You could call one of these like giant national marketing organizations and just say, hey, give me a street level contract and the zero support that you offer, and then be released to them. And
Yeah.
I
See,
I'm
I've
confused,
been
Fritz.
I just been around around long enough to know when someone's just not being honest.
Yeah.
And to imply in the email they're leaving the industry or taking a break from selling but want to be released. Like, can we all just be honest with each other? Like maybe your feelings would be hurt or ass chapped, but Nick, could the world just be a little honest with each other?
I mean, it would be nice if honesty was just sort of the default position.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
So my moral of the story is, as much as you tell the viewing audience, don't be an asshole or however you put it.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a jerk. Just be honest. Like, if you want to have an adult conversation about stuff, let's have an adult conversation, but you also can't be released to nobody. Nick, today's main topic that we wanted to discuss for weeks and months and maybe quite a long time
Oh yeah,
is the bubble.
the
And I've got
bubble.
a good bubble story now that we're back on topic for you about the Amish. I
Okay.
would agree or disagree. The Amish live in a bubble.
Tentatively agree. Where are you going with this?
Well, it's an example of a
Yeah,
collection of folks that live in
sure.
their own community and in their own bubble.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
actually had the Amish build me a bird feeder recently. Came out way bigger than I expected. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use it, but they called me on the phone to let me know that it was ready, which kind of hurt my
Awesome.
brain. The Amish called me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's awesome. They themselves called you, or they had like a Mennonite friend of theirs call you?
Well, I've learned they have a community phone, at least in the Lancaster Amish community,
Sure,
that they're allowed to call specifically for like business purposes
I
because
like
they
it.
do conduct a lot of business in and around
Right.
this area.
Yeah,
But
especially in Lancaster. Yeah, sure.
they definitely live in their own little religious bubble
Sure.
per se.
Yes. Yes. Have their own language that is, like they speak Pennsylvania Dutch.
Mhm.
Like there's a whole yeah, absolutely. Sure.
And you wanted to talk
Bubblish community.
today about bubbles in the insurance community,
Sure
being
do.
that I think we have our own little bubble in a way,
Yeah.
and there's others that live in a Medicare bubble. Where do you want to go with this one?
Well, I mean, I don't know. So many of the people who are going to watch this, all like 20 of you. Hi. Um, Probably spend a decent amount of time either on Facebook in the various Facebook insurance groups or on the insurance forums. Less and less on the insurance forums these days, but still, I think we've got one or two viewers who are on the insurance forums. Um, I did recently find out, this is fun. I did find out that one of the people who works at an IMO that I get some of my term life contracts through. So somebody I don't interact with very often at all because I don't write a lot of term. He watches this show.
There
so
you go.
so that's interesting. I don't know if he's subscribed. I don't know if he's one of the like 20 regulars, but
If
he
you are
knows it
watching,
exists.
subscribe. That we'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Um, so so that was weird. But I spend a lot of time in those communities also because yeah, it can be kind of a lonely-ish business. You want to meet other people that do kind of what you're doing and talking. But recently I have started trying to intentionally spend time in communities of salespeople and communities of insurance salespeople that are not the like 5 or 6 big Facebook groups, not the insurance forums, different types of online communities, still online communities because I don't know. I'm a millennial who is like socially whatever. Like I don't want to spend time with people in real life. Ugh, that's terrible. Um, I do that for a living. Why would I do that socially? Uh, but um, I realized, particularly talking to other people who work in sales that are not in the insurance industry, that we think about our jobs as independent insurance agents in an extremely different way than people in other parts of the insurance industry think about it. And I want to tell 2 stories. I'll tell them briefly because I know I have a tendency to ramble. First story, talking to one of the agents that I work with on Medicare who was wanting to hire a downline agent to help work his Medicare leads. He's like, I'm so busy doing final expense stuff. I find that I never really have the time to do the Medicare, and I know it's there, and I don't want other people getting it because then they get in and they take my final expense clients, but I don't really have the time to do it. I was going to maybe hire somebody to be a downline agent. Can I put them like a couple of dollars below me? And I was like, well, like you can do that. But I'm not going to train that guy for you. Like, if you want to hire an agent, I would probably recommend hiring them as an LOA, training them, giving them a little bit of a base salary, giving them a bonus, and having it build your book of business for you. And his immediate response was, nobody would ever want to do that. Who would want to be hired into that position when you could be making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year if you build your own book of business? Why would you ever want to hire on as an LOA agent? So that's story one. I have at points in my life thought exactly like this agent. Story two, talking to some people, mostly in tech sales. But general sales. It's just a general just a general salesperson forum. And one of the regular conversations that comes up in this forum is always, at like once a week, this comes up. Would you ever trade your base salary to go 100% commission only? There are over 1,000 people that participate in this forum on a regular basis. The overwhelming response was, I've done commission only. I will never do commission only again. I will only work base plus commission. And if I don't get the commission and I just get a base that's big enough, forget the commission. I'll just take the base. Overwhelming. Like 90% of the respondents, of like well over 1,000 people who work professionally in sales, were like, screw commission, definitely not commission only. You'll take my base salary away from me, from my cold dead hands. And the first time I saw this come up, my response was like, man, you could not pay me enough. Like, you could not pay me enough base salary to make it worth me trading my base salary for what I have. But
You could pay
most
me enough. I get the
let's
mindset of it.
right, yeah.
I get the mindset of it. Like, we're both late
Not you
30s,
couldn't,
early.
but you wouldn't pay me enough. you
I
you 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 would not pay me enough. You could. You definitely could. But I don't think you would.
I
I would be making more money than most CEOs if you were paying me enough.
Oh, yeah, I know the number. The number just isn't going to be paid,
No.
but it's not like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Um, the reality is that we're both in that same general age group, late 30s, early 40s. We both have kids that are growing with growing levels of responsibility. Like, at some point, it really becomes difficult to manage the business,
Mhm.
personal production, the agency, family, kids, dogs, vacations, cats, back to school nights, school concerts. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Now, and our bubble is so opposite of employee, but ironically, most of the people in this bubble make better employees.
Yep.
Our bubble is so unaware of what base salary looks like when some of them would probably be a whole lot less stressed out on a base salary. Like, I get it. It's just that this industry evolved differently than other industries where in the past it was all corporate and you were a monumental life employee and you ran a debit route. And then all of a sudden they dissolved all that, historically speaking, and the independent generation grew out of it. Like, I think in some cases, the pendulum is going to swing back into that direction where you see more captive-ish, LOA-ish, base salary-ish employees, that we're just in a period of time where it's different than that right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is, and, again, this is not me making a case for, hey, you should be captive, hey, you should have a base salary, but like there are legitimately lots and lots and lots of experienced salespeople where if you said, I was going to pay you a base salary of $60,000 a year, and you could, with average production, bonus your way up through bonus commissions, bonus your way up to $120,000 a year, people would bite your hand off to take that job. You would have people lined up around the block to take that job.
And all they would
And
need to do is write 400 Medicare plans that year, and you're making bank on their
yeah,
salary.
yeah. And 400 Medicare plans in a year, if you don't have to get the leads, if you don't have to track people down, all you have to do is call the people that I'm telling you to call. 400 Medicare plans a year is actually not that hard,
No.
right? It and you would have people lined up around the block who want to take that job. And it was shocking to me to realize this because I was at one point in the same mindset as the agent that I was talking to. Like, why would anybody want to do that? I make so much more money than that. I right now make so much more money than that. Why would I ever want to do that? Because it is hard for me 10 years later to remember what it was like when I was making $32,000 a year on a 100% commission job
Mm-hmm.
and how life-changing a $75,000 a year base salary was. I was offered a $75,000 a year base salary when I was making $36,000 a year at 100% commission. I was offered a $75,000 a year base salary plus commission. I don't know if you can hear my dogs in the
Yeah,
background. I
no, you're good.
apologize. I was offered that, but I had to do a 2.5 hour a day commute to take that job. And I almost took that job. 5 hours commuting round trip. And I almost said yes. Like very close to saying yes to that job. You know where I live. I would have been driving down to Dover, Delaware every day.
Yeah. Ironically, I was in search of a job many, many years ago, and I applied at a 911 dispatch center in I believe it was Prince George County. I could be wrong. This is way back there. From Philadelphia at the time would have been a monumental commute. But you do what you need to do to make money and have a job. Like, I think it's kind of funny that some people in our job can't even get out their own front door, drive 45 minutes to knock on some leads of people that said they're interested to talk to you. And we're talking about willing to drive 5 hours round trip to make a below average American wage.
Yeah. Yeah. Nuts, right?
In our bubble, I learned this to be true about, I guess, 3-ish years ago. Joe sent me to the Medicare supplement conference in suburban Chicago.
Ooh.
Long before it was Medicarians and it was in Vegas, it was in suburban Chicago. Not like even fun Chicago, like
Right.
over there.
Not the good
And
part of Chicago.
you know what's funny? I didn't know a damn person there.
Mhm.
Nobody looked familiar, never heard a name, didn't recognize them. Nobody.
Yep.
It's like this Medicare supplement bubble of people at that period of time, the generation of that convention. Proven to a fact. Went to another one. Didn't know almost anyone there. Went to Medicare Con. That was fun the one time. Didn't know most of the people there. And the fact that most of the people in Medicare land talk such a different game than Final Expense World, they have their own little sub bubbles. Even better, there's people that don't even follow a single insurance thing on social media
Right.
and sell plenty of insurance. That's its own bubble. But I think there's so much we can learn if we allow a little bit of leakage between them that we wouldn't know if we didn't talk to other people.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The difference. So I was invited to speak at Christian Brindle's conference, his 7-figure agent conference last year. And it is weird because when I go to spaces where there are lots of final expense agents, which is where I've spent most of my time for the last 10 years, everybody knows who I am. And I go to this thing where I'm going to speak at Christian Brindle's conference, and like nobody knows who I am. And I don't know who anybody else is. And they're talking about marketing ideas that make no sense to me.
No.
Like, there's no sense at all. And successfully though, right? Like, it's not that
Oh.
they're bad ideas. They're just foreign concepts to me. Right? Like there was one person who came up on stage and talked, very successful. She doesn't even live that far away from me. She lives over in York County. And was extremely successful mailing postcards to people. Just in York County, specialized in working with people in York County, and all she did was mail postcards to people and built a huge Medicare book in like 2.5 years. Like not ordering from a lead house, just designed her own postcard, sent out the postcard. Like that's all she did.
Like
Did a
reply
great job.
card, or they got a caller on a card? Like,
So it's I don't want to get into her whole
that's
thing. It was a whole thing, but it was basically just a postcard, right? It was
sure.
just a postcard, had her picture on it. Was like, hey, I'm going to be your Medicare person. I'll help you cut through the whatever. There was a little bit of cold calling involved. There's some stuff, but like, but at the end of the day, it was like just mailing postcards to people, right? More complicated than that, but basically just mailing postcards to people. I work with now a Medicare agent who works with me, um, who has been working in Medicare for almost as long as I have. And his entire business model is setting up tables at local community fairs. Like, they do a little street fair, farmers markets, things like that. He just has a table, and that's all he does. The guy writes 300 people. The guy writes 300 apps a year. Like, it's stuff that makes no sense to me from a marketing perspective. Like, oh my God, like I would never do these things.
Would you agree though that some things work for one person but aren't duplicatable past that level?
Yes, with a but. Most things that are successful for one person can be duplicatable if you are willing to work as hard as that person is willing to work.
Okay.
That's, I think, where a lot of these things fall down. A lot of the grassroots marketing stuff, a lot of the meet and greet, warm market, not even warm market. Warm market's not right, but kind of like local presence stuff works if you have the type of personality where you're very gregarious, you're really outgoing, you're really willing to talk to people, and you're really willing to put yourself out. Kind of like the old school like salesman, like the Groundhog Day life insurance salesman guy, Ned Ryerson.
Mhm.
If you're willing to be that kind of person, a not obnoxious version of that person, but like basically doing that sort of thing where you're just talking to everybody, I remember those things work, right? Like I remember going to an insurance carrier conference and they invited Van Mueller to come talk. And it was populated mostly by final expense agents. And so what Van Mueller had to say was meaningless. But his whole thing was like, I'm going to sell 5 insurance policies before I leave this conference because I'm just going to go sit at the bar and talk to people.
Makes
And
sense.
I believe he probably did. I mean, like, I don't know. But like that's his whole thing. He's like, just go sit at the bar and say, hey, how are you? What's your name? What do you do for a living? And then they're going to ask you what I do for a living. And I'm going to say something like, I help teach people how to turn their money into more money. Or something. I don't remember what his line is, but then he's got a line, right? And then that line prompts them to ask stuff that I would never do, stuff that I would tell people not to do, like actively. If you're in the final expense space, if you're in the Medicare space, don't I'm not going to tell you to do that stuff. I think that stuff is creepy and gross. It works for people though. And I have spent a lot of my career and a lot of the time that we've been doing these types of things feeling like I'm open-minded, but actually being pretty closed-minded about like there is only one way to do anything.
Mhm.
I don't know where we're going with this, but I feel like I have come to the realization recently that there is not really only one way to do anything. There are lots of ways to do things. You just need to pick one.
Mhm. I agree. I got a good segue off of that. I've been spending a lot of time working in Baltimore, probably 6-ish weeks at this point, so I'm allowed to start forming opinions.
Yeah.
I think we form opinions way too quickly in our business. That was a great day. This area is awesome. How long did you work there? 1 day.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, slow down, slow down, slow down. This area is awful. How long were you there? A week. No, nope, not yet. This product is amazing. How many times have you sold it? 2.
Nope.
Slow down. I hate my upline. I need to quit. Well, how long have you been mad at him? Yesterday. No, slow down. Take a deep breath. Go to bed. Get a drink. About 6 weeks. So I feel like I'm allowed to have some opinions.
Yeah, sure.
Nick, I have never seen so many senior high-rise buildings in my freaking career.
Really?
I had a day, and I think I mentioned this on our crossover. Every single appointment was in a senior building.
Wow.
And I was like 9 appointments.
Yeah.
Several of the appointments were in this same building. This is
Yeah.
unlike anything I've seen in Philadelphia. In your part of Pennsylvania, have you ever seen that many senior buildings where your entire day could be them?
No, I don't think. Yeah, no.
It's
I think the
crazy.
closest I've ever gotten was Chester, and even that was like more like housing projects and less
Yeah,
senior buildings.
crazy. And I've texted the guy, probably a pretty nice person. There's a Lincoln Heritage agent that I kid you not, I'm convinced his business model is he sets up a table in the lobby of a different building every day. And I'm sure he writes low-hanging fruit by just being there. And he hangs up his poster. Maybe
Yeah.
he buys leads, maybe he doesn't. But with that many senior buildings, he could set anyone that has that much time in the field, which unfortunately I do not, could set up a table, buy a set of donuts, and sit there and make nice with people and write one application a day.
Oh, easy.
At least.
Easy.
At least, especially after a few weeks of branding and being nice and bringing donuts, and then someone in the building dies.
I mean, I'll tell you, when I go into the senior buildings that are in the towns that I do work in, um, they always have a community bulletin board. Sometimes they have more than one. Sometimes there's a couple in the elevators and one in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Always, 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 always there is a flyer from somebody who works for an insurance agent talking
Mm-hmm.
about an upcoming seminar that they're going to be giving in that building. Always, every time, without fail. There is no reason why if you're watching this, why that could not be you. You know, if you've got a topic that you could talk about, and you make about a half an hour long, give away a couple of prizes, do a drawing, do a raffle, whatever. Like, there's no reason why you could not go talk to the events coordinator at any one of these senior buildings, because they all have an events coordinator. Once a month, twice a month, once a week, you could be doing those sorts of things. Absolutely,
I
without
think
question.
I think if you're low on leads, low on funds, or somewhere in that spectrum, then your ass needs to be in a senior building every Friday.
Yeah,
Like, draw a circle around where you live and find every single one of them in a 2-hour radius and be there on a rotating basis
yeah,
until you've got enough money or enough leads, and then you'll still have something to do. I
right.
never did many senior centers, but it's absolutely a viable strategy, especially in a town that it's unbelievable how many senior buildings there are in that area. Nick, I got a
Yeah,
final expense segue if you wanted to segue out of the bubble conversation, because
yeah, sure.
I really would appreciate your insight on this concept. There so there is a graded product on the market. We won't use names, there's no point. That's return of premium year 1, graded year 2.
Sure.
It's on the iCover platform,
Sure.
the easiest application platform in our industry.
Yep.
The rates are competitive. The underwriting is everyone's approved as long as you don't have HIV. You might know what that is if you're listening right now. It's just no point in saying names.
Right.
The commission level is 20-ish% lower than a guaranteed issue product, any of the two popular ones out there. What would you choose if on a regular basis the premiums were relatively similar, the process on iCover is better, the commission's lower, it's graded coverage versus ROP for 2 years? What decision do you make in those kind of situations?
So I would need to. So I don't know what the chargeback rule is for that product. Is it a 100% chargeback for 2 years?
Let's
100% for the
presume
first year?
let's presume apples to apples that the chargeback provision is if they die in the first 2 years, you're going the money back on
Okay,
both the products.
both products. Do either products pay renewals?
The graded the graded product on iCover with lower first year commission does pay a small renewal.
Hmm. What's the graded like on the year 2? What's the grading?
50%.
50%. For a sufficiently large policy, I would probably do the graded policy. It's probably better for the client, and I would take a small commission cut. I would have no problem with that if the face value of the policy was large enough.
Mhm.
So 20,000, where that 50% year two is actually a significant amount of money. If you're talking like a $5,000 policy where the 50% year two is only going to be like $2,500,
Mm-hmm.
maybe roll the dice with the guaranteed issue policy, especially if prices are comparable. It's not like there are any guaranteed issue companies out there who have particularly difficult application processes.
No.
I have to get paid for my work, and I feel like most people aren't going to care that much about the 1 year graded period at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They're mostly going to be concerned about the first year return of premium period. Although the business might be a little stickier if, especially if their health changes. But yeah, I don't know. I would probably lean towards, for big cases, the graded product, and for small cases, the guaranteed issue product. It's hard for me to. Things get a lot more equal if they're, if it's a smaller face amount, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
To me, I think that it also has a lot to do with process. I've encountered in Baltimore an enormous amount of like really sick people, like true up CHF, full on HIV. Like this is modified if you're lucky kind of business, but bank paying business, people with pre-existing policy kind of business, just ill people.
Yeah.
So I've run into this debate lately, which segues into my thought lately, is the more I do Medicare, the more that life gets busy around me, the less interested I am in multitasking 5, 6, 7, 8 carriers. Like, for example, you have right now in the guaranteed issue space, American General, which now is Corebridge, Great Western, which is now Wellaby, and I'm referring to Royal Arcanum in that other situation. Great Western, I love them, but they also recently discontinued taking cards and such.
Right.
Do I need 2 GI products in my bag? I don't. It's just too much stuff to keep track of.
Yeah.
There's 82 companies that take COPD at this point standard. Find one of them.
Yeah.
Like when you have to keep track of you honestly have to keep track of 4, 5, and 6 competitive MA carriers. Keeping track of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 carriers with I can't do it anymore. I'm keeping it more and more simple the more I do both.
I'm going to tell you, and even though they're not perfect companies, I am back to only writing 2 companies for the most part. It took me a long time. I don't want to advertise which companies I like because that might change and get me in trouble in the future.
It does. It absolutely does. You're terminated. Oh no.
Yeah, right. So I don't want to give them the free advertising yet. But like I'm back to basically writing 2 companies, like, which has been the goal all along, since about August when I started trying to look for a new company. And it took me a while to find a company I was happy with. I bounced around through a few, but I'm back to basically writing 2. If I write somebody else, it's because it's a very specific case.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple, bright line decision. Stuff goes one direction, in certain circumstances, and stuff goes another direction in everybody else. And that covers me for 95% of everybody that I'm going to run into. And then the occasional GI, like I pick the one GI company that I work with, and I'm probably not picking up anybody else to pick up anything else. Like, I just don't really need to add a 3rd or 4th carrier in there. I'm not that worried about GI. I'm just not that worried about like the GI business. If I'm not the best thing for them, if I'm not the most competitive GI product out there, I have a GI product that I feel like is reasonably competitive. But if there's a situation where I'm not going to be the winner of that one, I'm not fighting that battle.
I had a day Wednesday, like 10 appointments, double booked slots. Like the ladies that dial were dialing their face off because they're work hard.
Yeah.
And this one person with like, they was giving me an objection smoke screen midway through the application, and I'm like, that's whatever. I left. Like I just don't have the time, the place, the patience. Had been raining for 16 days in a row. Whatever. Yeah. Do you want to buy insurance? Yes, perfect. I'm going to find you the best damn product, and I'll take good care of you. But I'm at that point of the day not gonna. Why is it got to come out of my bank account? Because it's 2024 is why. Like
this is
Come on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I wrote a med sup for the first time in a while
It's cool.
recently. Um and the guy was like, "Yeah, I want to pay quarterly. I don't want to give you my banking information right now."
No.
And I'm like, "No."
No.
No.
It's not
Like
how
that's
this
just
works.
not like I'm not going to screw around with your I'm not screwing around with your health insurance. I'm not going to put you in a position where you can accidentally lapse it because you lose the mail and you don't pay your $300 quarterly payment, or you get behind on something and like no, I'm just not no. That's not one of the choices that you have.
No, like you wouldn't walk into the airport and then tell TSA, "No, I'm not walking through the screener." Like that's not an option. Like
Yeah.
I think one of the sales things people can learn if they're listening in 35 minutes later is be in control. Like you are the professional, you do know better even if you're new to the business.
Yeah.
Be the professional. Like if my lawyer was whiffy and wafty about something, I would stop retaining them. I need
Yeah.
firm professional opinions on situations I encounter, not me taking control here. Uh, I was at the vet recently and we lost a cat in the family. It was an
Oh,
elderly cat that was part of the what we had signed up for. The vet was way too wishy-washy with me. Like I am in tears here. I have my kids here who are old enough to understand stuff's happening. I need like firm decisions.
yeah,
Like this
you
isn't an
want some
option.
you want
I need
somebody to tell you what to do, right?
yeah.
Right.
I love them. They're great vet, by the way. No offense to them.
Yeah.
They take great care of but at some point, be the professional and give firm, concrete, confident recommendations, and be fair with that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think to bring it back around, like that is what so many of our clients want also. I've been talking to a lot of Medicare people the last couple of days. And I was talking to somebody earlier this morning who, when I started talking to her, she was like, "Nick, I've talked to so many people about my Medicare, and all they do is confuse me. Can you just tell me what to do?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "You know what? Yes, I can.
Just
Yeah, I sure will." I- um, and so she's real happy.
keep it simple.
Yeah,
Like people just want a simple explanation from someone that appears relatively smart and trustworthy, maybe
yeah,
not even good looking, and they want a simple explanation. Half the time people don't buy from you if you're listening because you made this shit too complicated.
yeah.
I saw a guy once whip out a chart to explain the difference between term, whole life, and universal,
Oh
and then
no,
delve into the reduced paid. Shut up, like sell it. Like you will
nobody
be
want.
dead. Do you like insurance or not?
Yeah, I like. So my mentor, a guy named Travis Tubbs, he is very fond of using the expression, when somebody asks you what time it is, don't tell them how to build a watch. Um, there are so many people in our field, and I think it's because there's not a lot of good sales training, right? i
No,
think i think sales training in general has just disappeared, and I'm maybe one of the lucky last few who got put through real and intensive sales training. Probably you as well. I know you've had some real and intensive sales training, but I think people who started much after us uh really aren't getting taught how to sell, like, at all. And and you get loaded with so much knowledge, especially in the Medicare space, but also in the life insurance space. You get loaded with so much knowledge, um, just to be even allowed to talk to people
hmm
about these products, that you just want to vomit it back up. You just want
yeah,
to tell everybody everything that you know, and people do not care. They,
no,
they do not want to know how to build a watch. They just want you to tell them what time it is.
fair enough. I have 10 minutes. I'm going to go extra because I've got two concepts I want to unpack in rapid succession with you.
Sure.
The first one being Insurance Toolkits is designing a CRM. The development team has been working hard on this project for an
Interesting.
extensive period of time. I personally use a Google Sheet if I do even use that.
Mhm.
I've purchased, paid for other CRMs, and they were too complicated and too time consuming and didn't make me money. In the process of Insurance Toolkits designing a CRM, what feature would you want them to have in it?
I would love it if there was a feature where all of your leads would show up on a map at the click of a button. I will show you what this looks like. Hang on.
Yeah, I absolutely. I'm excited to see if that's a thing we can do.
Where there are places that can do this. Leads. So if all of your leads, can you see this? Oh, there we go.
Yes.
All of your leads. This is all of my leads. And I can pinch out and zoom all of my leads.
That's a lot of leads.
Not just, I mean, this is like, I'm not great at marking whether or not they're resolved. So this is
Yeah.
literally just 10 years worth of leads.
Well,
But like they show up on a map and you can say, hey, I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania. People know I work in Allentown. No problem there. And
great area. Don't go there.
I'm near,
Nobody buys there.
yeah, I'm
Stay out.
near I'm near Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And these are all the leads that are here. And in fact, I'm going to see my client right off of Tillman Street. And I want to go find the next closest lead. And I'm going to just click on that next closest lead, which is a 10-minute walk from where I'm standing right now, and get directions. And it will pull it up on Google Maps and tell me exactly how to get there from where I am.
Wow.
And I would like that feature.
Does it pull up the actual lead?
It pulls up. You can. So it's
Would you want this to pull up the actual lead that was generated?
The lead card. So I would want it to pull up the file in the CRM, which I could then potentially attach the lead card to. I think that would be very handy.
Mhm.
If you had the ability to attach your lead card to the client file in the CRM. But more importantly, there's a little pin on the map that you click it and you can either open up the client file or you can open up a map, and it will give you Google Maps directions or Apple Maps directions or whatever mapping program you use on your phone directions to get there.
Mhm.
So like, hey, I'm right here. I've got 5 leads in my general vicinity, and this one is walking distance. I'm going there next.
Nice. I like that.
I would very few. So there. I know Zendesk Sell offers this feature. I know Zoho offers this feature, but they don't have an app, and it makes it very difficult to use this feature because you have to use it through a browser, and it doesn't work right, and it doesn't connect nicely to Google Maps, or at least it didn't used to. Maybe that's better now. And there's a website called Spotio that has a feature like this, and there's a company called Senior Agent Tools that has a CRM that has a feature like this. All of these companies have other things that are difficult, but they all offer this map feature, which is a fantastic feature and is not offered by nearly enough companies. Most CRMs are built for the telesales agent, not the field agent.
Yeah,
And
good point.
field agent tools are important.
I told them in a design meeting that I wanted to tell me things that I have to jog my memory occasionally. Like, it's this person's birthday. This person doesn't have cancer insurance. This person you haven't marked as being seen in 3 years. Like, things that you really got to be on a good set of coffee to really remember.
Yes.
I also told them a sales tip of the day, or something like, make sure you cross-sold somebody today. Or on a Saturday, did you clean your car? Like, little things like that. I think it would be cool. Like the ITK tip of the day. Go work. Did you pay for your lead? We'll see. I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be worth a few dollars more if it even costs more money. I've heard talk that it wouldn't, but we'll see. Lastly, I have 5 more minutes left on the clock, as do you. 2 things. Do you print your leads?
Not anymore. I used to always. I have digital copies of all of them now.
Fair enough.
My phone is fairly large. I actually just show them to people on my phone. It's actually about the size of the lead card if it was printed. I have a very large phone. I know a lot of people who carry around a tablet. I prefer working with a laptop. I don't like using tablets. I don't know. I'm old fashioned.
I think I spend 30 minutes a week, maybe 45, printing, cutting, making sure they're all printed, reprinting, recutting, and it's about to be baseball, flag football, and another round of basketball season. I'm trying to find more time in my day, but I'm terrified if I don't print out my leads that nobody will buy and I'll fail. Like that kind of
Nope.
weirdism.
Yeah, no, that is 100% in your head. People have no problem with taking a look at a digital lead.
And I also used to, if my appointment setter bombed out for the day, grab a set of leads and while on 95, call and set appointments. Highly dangerous. I didn't say that. I'm afraid that I won't have that capacity to do so, but I also am working with such good appointment setters. I can't recall the last day I had wide gaps in my schedule.
I'm going to say this is where the whole map thing comes in handy.
There you
If
go.
you if you got the map, if you got the pins on the map, you just pull up your leads in your CRM and they show up as pins on your map, and you're like, I'm going to call this one because this is the next closest one to me. Or you can switch it to a list view and get a list and that you can order chronologically and just call the most recent leads. But
Good point.
But I'm telling you, everybody's sleeping on the map technology with pins. I know not enough about technology to be able to make that work. I'm told that you can make a Go High Level CRM do this, but I have not been able to figure out actually how to do it. I only know the other 4 options, which don't work for me for various reasons.
We've given away so much information and insight the last 45 minutes. Somebody could watch this and make money.
Including where 5 of my leads live. So.
And in our final 5 minutes, I'm going to go to our hot take moment of the podcast episode. But before we get to the hot take moment, if you've watched to this point, please like down here or follow up here if you're listening or just watching, whichever platform you're on. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That's a mean thing to do, and I'm upset about it. And share it. Like, share this with other people outside or inside of your bubble. We put so much valuable time and effort into this that it deserves to get into the hands of people that need it. Nick, are you ready for the hot take today?
Yes, I am.
Red flag of something someone could be saying to an agent to recruit that agent that is just simply red flag bullshit. It's not true. Like, you get caught into a recruiting conversation on text, Facebook, some kind of, I don't know how.
It's been so long since I've entertained. Like, I mostly just block these guys these days. I used to, like, every time somebody tried to recruit me, talk to them because I thought it was funny. But my time is more valuable now than it was then. I want to say, the most interesting one that I ever got was, you've got a lot of experience. You've sold a lot. You've made several carrier trips. We can start you at 65% commission. Now, I know that sounds lower than what you're getting right now, but we have a back office staff that is going to make sure that everything that you write gets issued and that you never have a policy lapse ever again. And you're going to make so much more money because of our back office staff that you will make more money at 65% commission than you're making right now at 125% commission. I got told this, no joke. And when I laughed, they were like, well, you've just got an employee mindset, so you're clearly not a right fit for us anyway. I don't think we want you at all. I don't think we actually want you anyway.
Could it be a lot like the phrase I've heard before that I just do not believe, as much as I believe there's a value in local offices, that you have to work with a local office to learn, especially Medicare, that you can't have learned it in the same environment that we learned final expense?
Yeah. So, man, and I used to believe that one. Like, the reality is with Medicare, there are local things that you will never know unless you are actually local. Like, you just won't. There are nuances to every location that you're never really going to get a handle on unless you're actually local. And this is true. It is also true that is not nearly as big a deal as most people think it is.
In the age of Sunfire and
Yeah. It used to, I used to really think that it was a big deal to, like, know the names of the hospital networks, to, like, know off the top of my head what networks took which plans and, like, what the political situation was. And, like, like Lehigh Valley and St. Luke's are duking it out for the United Healthcare contract. And, like, so right now, if you're on United Healthcare, but you're going to see Lehigh Valley doctors, you might be losing your insurance in a couple of months because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't
It
matter.
took me a whopping 3 weeks to realize that, God, whatever the name is, Dr. West doesn't take Aetna, but she does take Ultrawood or whatever it was. Like
Yeah.
the local thing does have a little bit of advantage, but should
Yeah.
it dictate your entire FMO choice?
No. And you will figure that stuff out as you work. And the tools and software technology today it's not like it's 2008 anymore, right? You can do doctor lookups in 30 seconds.
Hmm.
Sure, that's an additional 30 seconds that maybe you didn't used to have to spend if you had the local knowledge. But it's 30 seconds, right? It's okay. You should be doing
Make,
doctor
make
lookups anyway, even if you think you know better.
Yeah, make a bigger choice than just choosing it sounds good because they're local stuff. Like there's more to that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys being on or watching us today. Nick, appreciate you being on with me today. If you've gotten this far with the video, buy Insurance Toolkits leads. Check out our stereo when it's released. Subscribe to the channel, whatever you want to listen to. We've got it here. We put out over a year's worth of content that would change the trajectory of anyone's career if they took the time to watch it. So engage with the video so we can continue to do so. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.